To die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. It's black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. It's black and white. Oh. Come on, baby. Love, no more, baby. Black and white. Come on, baby. Love, no more, baby. It's black and white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico. It's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go. It's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico. It's black and white. White, white, white. It's black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. It's black and white. It's black and white.
There we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to more Pure GT Social Races back on Jacko Racing. Last time out, I believe it was on Absolute Dan's social channels, and well, today we're back on Jacko Racing, and I'm thrilled about it as well. As per usual now on the Pure GT races as well, I have a commentator buddy, and his name is Edward May. Ed, how the devil are we?
I'm doing brilliantly, Jack. Yeah, you can't get rid of me. We were together just the other day, weren't we, commentating on some BSR Mazdas, and we're back together once again for the Pure GT Formula 3's series. That first round at Road America, I've been hooked, and I've been really enjoying my time following this little bit of, well, Formula 3 frantic madness.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is, really, isn't it? And you're right, it's sort of racing, although it's not necessarily the most high quality in racing standards. It is the sort of racing that does grip you, doesn't it? It's the sort of racing that really pulls you in and tries to bring you back for more. Matt Emmons has come in the chat. Feels like only a week ago you commentated here. I was thinking that. I came into the commentary booth, Matt. I was saying to Ed, I swear, Pure GT have only just been here, but it was actually you guys, wasn't it, on a Friday night? Well, can't get enough of Interlagos, even if it isn't Ed's favourite track, Ed. I don't think you're not afraid of hiding that, are you?
You've sold me out now, haven't you? You've fully exposed me. But yeah, it's a circuit that maybe I just don't like it because I've never been good at this circuit. It's one that's really difficult to nail. There's corner after corner. You don't have time to think. If you make one little mistake on the infield, it has a massive knock-on effect for all of the subsequent corners getting pushed off of line. But that means as well that if you do go offline, it's very difficult to carry that same amount of speed, which means that you're not really going to be seeing too much overtaking on this middle straight. The best chances really are going to be going into that first corner, and then as well probably going through turn 4 and 5.
Absolutely is, yeah, and it's incredible, really, because we say that you're not necessarily been able to overtake in the sort of middle section of this track, the infield, but that's not really stopped any of the drivers before, has it, in the Pure GT series? It's a lot like the MX-5s, and I know Michael Seal has just jumped into the chat as well, saying it's double trouble. It is indeed, Michael, but it hasn't stopped BSR drivers in MX-5s. It definitely doesn't stop the Pure GT, even in F3s, does it, guy, getting side by side? Since they were in Ferraris, they had a little bit of a buffer between them, but they're now in Formula 3s, wheels can tangle quite easily.
Yeah, so we're very thankful, aren't we, that there's no damage on these cars for this series. Every single driver this evening not needing to worry too much about, well, not needing to worry at all, are they, about getting any damage on their cars for the race, because it is, as we can see, Pure GT social racing. It's not a championship. There's no serious rules. It's just a group of mates having a good little fun race around, which is what I love about sim racing in general, is that a lot of drivers, they can get caught up in all of this intense championship racing, but they don't sort of forget to have a good bit of fun in the meantime as well in those times between.
Exactly, yeah. And speaking of enjoying the racing, let's jump straight into it. Enough looking at my face, listening to Ed or anything. Let's get involved with the actual stream itself, and we are actually in qualifying. So, as you can see, we've got a few qualifying names, not quite on the board yet, because nobody's set the fastest a quick time yet, but we do have noise coming into your ears now. There we go. Couple of quick times. Here we go. Martin Thomas is jumping in. Max Hunt already starting to set quick lap times. And, well, Interlagos, you may not be able to attack in the infield, but like you've alluded to before, Ed, you can still attack into turn 1. You can attack into turn 4. And that's realistically where we're going to see a sort of a lot of the action. But it does mean, with only two overtaking opportunities, really, that qualifying is going to be important tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. It is so crucial to get it right, as we see someone not getting it quite right. That's Peter Jennings losing the rear of his car there, going, I think that is through turn 4, maybe midway through turn 4, turn 5 there. So it's a tricky circuit, isn't it? Drivers finding the limits already, as we see. Fastest man out on track is Anthony Mott with a very quick timer, 1:28.637. Very good lap time indeed. But there's a few drivers that are going to try and keep him honest, because margins were relatively close, weren't they, in the practice session? As Martin Thomas is currently fastest man in the first sector, but John Westbrook, look at that, fourth sector, currently faster than anyone. Green sectors all across and a purple as well. This is looking very good for John Westbrook if he can pull it off.
Yeah, John Westbrook, he's not exactly foreign to the pole position here at Pure GT. Anthony Mott comes on pole, but it's very quickly taken away by a very small margin by John Westbrook, who has now set a 28.587. It was his first flying lap. Only 11 drivers of the 22 that we've actually got here today have set a lap time so far, so expect to see the times not only tumbling, but also the amount of times on the board increasing as well. And, well, they've changed up their liveries somewhat, haven't they, since I was last here? I don't know about you, Ed, but John Westbrook's Red Bull is looking really rather foreign to me. Was he sporting this rather fetching green livery last time out that you can remember?
I think he might be running similar to, I don't remember it being quite so vibrant, but then that might have just been because there was a lot of dust being kicked up at the Laguna Seca circuit. There was plenty of drivers going off track and having a few spins, so maybe his sheen was sort of dimmed a little bit, but he's certainly not that at the moment, is he? Putting a very quick lap time, so they're getting held up, isn't he, by the weird funky purple car in front. I'm not sure who that is. But
I'm not entirely
it just
sure
shows,
who.
isn't it, that track space is at a premium here.
It is, yeah, and as you say, it's not easy to get past on the mid pack. In fact, I was about to say it's Alec Westbrook, but no, in the Tom and Jerry car actually. But Clive Bailey's put in a purple sector 4, so maybe we'll see a quick lap time out of Clive Bailey. He's already up to 4th place, but I think that was actually on his last lap time that he put that in. Martin Thomas goes top with a 28.2, showing that there is still lap times out there, and I doubt these drivers will probably jump in for some tyres. Maybe some of the slightly less experienced ones will stay out. Maybe some of the more experienced ones will try and get out, set a warm-up lap time, a banker lap, and then a flying lap, get in and change their tyres. Yet again, if they're going to do that, now is the lap to start doing it, with Alec Westbrook top of the timing tower, but he's only purple sector 5. Apart from that, the purple sectors have been fairly shared out, haven't they? Anthony Mott's got one in sector 3, slow in sector 4 though, so we'll see if the previous pole position holder can now really climb up the order. One of the few drivers that is actually part of a proper sim racing team in the Excite machine there. You can see on the side of his car, lovely looking livery, but he's only managing 3rd place, under a 1/10 of a second away from Martin Thomas.
Yeah, it's very thin margins, isn't there, at this field? Seeing what Richard Abra can do. He was purple in the 1st sector, not an improvement in the 2nd. However, he did do a personal best in the 3rd. Seeing what he can muster here. Richard Abra as well, a driver that we've seen have very good results in the past. But like you mentioned about the tyres, it's that these cars, they really do struggle coming out of the box. They take a little while to get the tyres warmed up and get the grip in. And then it's usually, depending on the circuit, it's either your 2nd or even 3rd flying lap where you are at your fastest.
Oh,
but he's
that's
not going to be fast doing that, is he? 2 wheels up in the air, full on nose into the barrier. But that's just, the closing speed was immense, wasn't it, going through that final sector, and shows how badly you can get it wrong if you misjudge the traffic.
It's a real shame, though. I could understand why he was trying to keep that momentum going, because he purpled sector 1 and sector 4. So it's not like he was really on a poor lap or anything. He was absolutely flying, but it's safe to say that he's not going to be setting any pole position times now, is he? He's already 20-odd seconds off. Thought he was going to dive into the pits there, but it's not to be. So it looks like we're going to stay out. Clive Bailey sets a quicker time than John Westbrook, who slipped down to 5th position. But again, very close margins. Westbrook to Bailey is only 0.04 of a second. Mott to Thomas is 800 of a second. And Montgomery to Wafer is 600 of a second as well. So expect to see plenty of close action, which is not something we're foreign to here on Pure GT, is it? And well, you were here last time out at Laguna Seca. Was it just as chaotic and enjoyable as normal?
Yeah, it was fairly chaotic. Laguna Seca was a track that kind of lends itself to a lot of chaos with just the way the track is. It's quite narrow with loads of different elevation changes, cambered corners, curves on the inside that have upset a few drivers as well. Whereas here at Interlagos, well, it has similar characteristics. It's a little bit of a wider circuit, I feel, and one that we could expect to see slightly more 2 wide, 3 wide moments that are slightly safer, as Anthony Mott gets it slightly wrong there. He has to lock up on the brakes to stop him pendulum the car all the way around. And Richard Abra, he's had a clear lap this time, but he hasn't really been setting the timing screens alight. No purple sectors this time by, but it has been a consistently decent lap. Let's see if the personal best second sector is going to be enough to put Richard Abra up the order, up from 7th place. It was a purple final sector, but there is not an improvement in terms of position. Closer to Clive Bailey than he was before, but not anything faster to get himself up the order in terms of positioning. Meanwhile, Barry Rabbit, what can he manage? 5th fastest currently. 2 green sectors, 2 personal bests this lap for Barry Rabbit. Could be enough to send him bounding on up into the podium.
You'll be hoping so, won't it? I mean, we've mentioned already how important qualifying is. I don't know, I haven't driven that much of this car. I've obviously had people come in and say that it's quite a difficult car to get going. It's quite a difficult car to handle, as we've seen a few drivers obviously having a few thrills and spills already tonight. Ed, have you driven much of the F3 before now, or any of the open wheels? I know you're a GT3 kind of guy, but what about the F3?
Yeah, the F3 is one. I'm nowhere near as quick as some of these top guys in this series. I'm just there just to have a bit of a bash around and have a bit of fun, and it's one that it's easy when we're in the comments box to say, oh, they've made a mistake, how could you do that, you just locked up too much, or that was too much speed. But it's so difficult to really get to grips with this car because the brakes, they're so hard, they like to lock up on you every so often, and you need to be a lot more gentler than you might expect, say, the heavier car with more weight to sort of lean on, I guess, in slowing the car down. Whereas these cars, they're very light. It's easy to snag the brakes and spin around, and easy to get on the power too early as well. There isn't that much to keep the car hunkered down aside from the downforce. So in these slow speed corners, you might expect to see a few drivers losing control here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you look at these cars, you look at the F3s, and you instantly think Formula 1 car, loads of downforce. But these cars actually, it's a slight misconception really, because although they do have downforce, there's not an awful amount, is there? It's not, I would say there's a lot less than even an LMP car. So, you know, you look at them, but it is a lot about mechanical grip. So you're right, in terms of sort of how you feather the brake in and how you sort of control the car under slow speeds will actually probably gain you the most amount of time. Speaking of gaining a lot of time, John Westbrook, who is second, by the way, is only greened every single sector, bar the last one, and it's still not fast enough to take it away from Alec Westbrook, who's currently on pole position. By the looks of it, they've given it the ghost as well. They're not going to try and put any quicker times in just this session anyway. So let's see if he'll be happy with second place. Let's see if he can convert that to a first place. No one still has told me whether John Westbrook and Alec Westbrook are brothers, or their son and father, cousins. I have no idea. So if someone could drop one in the chat or in the Discord to tell us what the relation is between the Westbrooks, that would be absolutely delightful, because we're struggling to keep thinking of what they sort of are in relation to each other, and when they're first and second, it's that sort of information that a commentator would love to have. As Anthony Mott sets his final time, it's not an improvement. He's slower by 1/10 of a second, which means his third place is going to have to be as good as he's going to get, 1/10 of a second off John Westbrook, only half a 1/10 off Martin Thomas. So the top five, really, well, top four mostly, are extremely close, less than 2/10 of a second between them. And then Barry Rabbit is 2.5 tenths, nearly 3 tenths down from the top four. So it's going to be interesting. Slipstream's a big factor here at Interlagos, isn't it? Let's see if they can crack on with making any moves up the order with the slipstream.
Definitely, yeah, that's going to be something to really watch out for, is these close margins in qualifying translating over into the race. We often find as well that some drivers, they might be good over the course of one lap, but if you extend that out to the course of a whole 15-minute race, that is when we start to see some drivers' weaknesses come to the front, aren't we? That's when we start to see these little mistakes start to creep in and drivers fall down the order. So it's not necessarily the driver who puts it on pole is the one that comes through to win the race, and that's something, another reason why I enjoy this series, is because it's you can't really predict the winner too much based on qualifying, as we see Anis Sutawala, I'm not sure how you would pronounce that last
Let's
name.
Let's just call it Annie,
sure.
Anis maybe.
Anis. And the other, okay, well, not if they keep spinning like that.
Yeah,
Oh,
Alex
dear.
Martin in 19th though. I mean, there's some green sectors being put in, but like you said, Ed, it's more about obviously consistency. And if you said to someone, "Oh, it's only a 15-minute race," or what's that, 5-6 laps, maybe 7 here at Interlagos, it doesn't sound that much, does it? But when you're, as I said, in a slow sort of some of the slower corners with a hard to handle machine under you, it can be a tricky and a long race if you're sort of one of the more inconsistent drivers that we maybe see outside the top 10. And as the checkered flag drops, it looks like we have everybody set up, and that's why no one was trying to set one final lap time, as they knew that it was going to be a cut off quite quickly. So here is the order of the grid. Alec Westbrook on pole position, John Westbrook in second place, Anthony Mott third, Martin Thomas in fourth, Barry Rabbit rounds out the top 5, Clive Bailey in sixth place, Richard Abra 7th, Christian Wafer in 8th, Kevin McGlone and Peter Jennings round out the top 10, Havana Gevorgian and Paul Wafer in 11th and 12th. 13th down is Mark Hoskin, Max Hunt, Adam Hayes, John Newell, Paul Black, Andy Montgomery, Alex Martin, Anise, Steve Gummer, and Chris Knox, who I don't know if he's actually taking part or not tonight. Do have an update on Chris and why he's not doing it. Apparently he was feeling a bit sore because he was driving historic F1 cars around Donington the other day, which is, I would say, quite a reasonable excuse for feeling a little bit sore the day after. Good luck to Chris. He's obviously doing it a little bit more often now, real life racing. Fantastic to see him in the car, and apparently he's off to Spa and Brands Hatch in the coming months as well, so really looking forward to seeing and hearing about the updates there. And well, we're focused on the race that's going to happen in front of our eyes. It is the Westbrooks on the front row, and it's a rolling start here, Ed. It's another slight difference, isn't it, than the some of the more common series that we have with standing starts and damage. We have a rolling start and no damage.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to operate this, because we do have, of course, Alec Westbrook, who will be the pace setter. They're all in the Discord, so I don't know if Alec Westbrook is going to try and fake out some of the drivers and just say go, go, go when he's actually stationary, and then get on moving, or maybe even just trying just to have a bit of a laugh. That's what I'd often do in my sort of little fun races I do with my teammates, is I try and fake them out at the start with rolling starts, and oftentimes it gets a bit calamity in the background, but it's all a good bit of fun.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, really, isn't it? Because we often see, although we have rolling starts, we still see people crashing into each other off the start. And to be honest, if anybody was watching the Brands Hatch when the Pure GT started doing F3s, they were all practicing in their F3s and leading up to it and everything like that. And they had an hour and 50 minutes worth of practice before qualifying. They went out, they did qualifying, and then all of a sudden everybody sat on the grid and realised they never actually started an F3 car off the line. Now, no one knew what on earth they were doing, so there was wheel spin galore. It was people just turning around in front of each other, doing 180s. About 3 people actually got off the line, and that's the story as to why we are now doing rolling starts. A few people obviously struggling beforehand, so yeah, interesting little tidbit. And then obviously, because everybody was turning around, everybody was spinning into each other, there was lots of damage, hence why we haven't got damage anymore either, because we just found that for a social race, as Ed alluded to before, we want to have fun, we want to make sure we're actually getting through the races, and the last thing you need is to get 10 minutes worth of repair damage before turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're making our way, aren't we, up the hill, up at the final corner. Going to be expecting to see Alec Westbrook get the field, get the race underway as soon as we see the pace car make its way into the pit lane. And what a nice pace car it is as well, the Ford Mustang. I don't see too much anymore, but it's still very iconic, isn't it, with its shape and just sheer bulk compared to these F3s. I think they're going to get the race underway very shortly, though.
Yeah, it is indeed. Yeah, Next Gen were here the other week, and they really struggled because it doesn't get released as quickly as you think. So the people at the back think we're racing, we're not, and you see the carnage. And I said the top 4 would drive away with it. Wasn't expecting that though, Ed. It's, well, sort of half was expecting that, I have to be honest, but there's been absolute carnage, and my replay filter is just lit up with red crashes left, right, and centre. Michael Seal is very much enjoying himself in the chat. I very much doubt half the grid is enjoying themselves on the race, though.
Who was it that spent like half the time even in this race? They've spent more time on their roof than they've spent on their wheels, most of these drivers here already this evening. Saw someone flipping around doing a breakdance maneuver on their crash helmet, so that's definitely not advisable if you're ever going to be trying to drive an F3 car, to spend more time on your roof or on your sort of, I guess, on your helmet really, than on your all four wheels. But look at that, John Westbrook, I thought he was fine, and then all of a sudden he gets a massive amount of wheels spinning the car around, and then there's a car meeting him there, and I think that's Christian Wafer.
Yeah, that one looks very odd. I thought he was going to get turned back around by Christian Wafer. That was an odd incident. It looked like someone had just dropped oil on the track, didn't it? And there's another driver off on the right-hand side there as well. So the only driver that sort of survived this, really, is Alec Westbrook. John Newell has started in 16th and is still 16th, and probably just driving around with people falling off around him. Not entirely sure, but we are going to have a jet back to the start race. By the looks of the amount of gaps that there is between each of these drivers, I think most of this race, to be honest, will be filled with just showing replays of the start from different people's perspective, because that was quite incredible to say the least. Max Hunt is certainly being hunted by Andy Montgomery. Well, he was for about half a second of camera time before Andy Montgomery goes straight on into turn 1, comes back on at turn 2 and spins it just before turn 3 as well. I apologise to Andy for catching that one on stream, but at the front of the field, Alec Westbrook still leads, Anthony Mott in second place, and Barry Rabbit in third. And I tell you what, Barry Rabbit looking a little bit racy here, isn't he? As long as they can warm the tyres up, keep it on the circuit. Alec Westbrook goes very wide. There could be an opportunity for, dare I say it, an actual wheel-to-wheel race here at Interlagos.
Wow, that is
a bold
very
claim.
bold claim, isn't it? We might be seeing some of that, though. You could be right on the money, because look at this. Anthony Mott, Anthony Mott is trying to get past. I think that's a back marker, potentially.
Adam Hayes, I believe that was.
Out of the way, yes, Adam Hayes. I think you might be right.
No, sorry, it's Anis. It was Anis.
Sutavela, it's number 7. It's Anis Sutawala, and I think we just saw Anis have a bit of a spin in the background as well. But meanwhile, like we were mentioning, up in front, equal margins, isn't it, between first, then second, then third. Alec Westbrook, Anthony Mott, and Barry Rabbit all within contention for a race win, as Anthony Mott sets the fastest lap of the race so far, 0.3 of a second faster than Alec Westbrook.
Yeah, it could be heating up as we just take a slight break away from it, just to show you some of the incidents here at before we even got to the race line. As I said, the problem with Interlagos is it takes so long for the safety car to actually get out of the way, and then you have to wait quite a lot longer before you actually get race started. So the people at the back think that we can go, but Alec Westbrook at the front knows we can't go. And here's Alex Martin. There was crashing, and Alex Martin was the driver on their head, just getting bipped around there like air hockey, wasn't it? It's quite terrible. There's another driver just absolutely flying about as well on their roofs. And well, I'll tell you what, we'll make everyone feel sick, shall we, Ed? We'll go on board with Alex Martin. So there we go. We're already trying to warm the tyres. I'm not really sure what's going on there. But if you can, digest and talk this through, Ed.
Yeah, so let's have a look and just try and figure out what's going on. Alexander Martin, he goes so early. Does he sort of anticipate the green flag? I'm not sure. And then, well, he sort of ends up.
It looks like a disaster movie's flashbacks, isn't it? So the protagonist has had a crash, lost its memory, so we start having blackouts.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I didn't know really what to say because it just kind of went black, so we couldn't really say exactly what was going on. But what we can say is that there's a fight up in front. Anthony Mott sliding his car around the outside of Alec Westbrook.
Yeah, nice little move there, and we said that it was starting to heat up. Well, it's certainly starting to do that as Alec Westbrook now goes to the outside to try and carry some momentum, get the power down early, but looks like Anthony Mott is wise to that one, doesn't get him in the slipstream, and just keeps that defensive line into turn 4 and turn 5. And it's really difficult, isn't it? If you don't have the inside into turn 4, you're probably not going to end up making the move because it is almost a double apex corner. Going through the two right-handers now, ill-advised to be heading up the inside here because it is basically the entry to the infield, and it's a one line sort of circuit, isn't it, really, once you get into this section, which is why you, Ed, don't particularly love watching racing here, but it does offer people an opportunity to sort of carry some momentum, get a good gap, and then they can really start attacking onto the back straight. It is basically, in this infield section, about lining up the driver ahead, forcing them offline slightly so they ruin their run out at this particular corner, the most important corner on the circuit, because you're flat out now all the way into the first, and by the looks of it, Anthony Motta's bang on the money in that one. Alec Westbrook couldn't keep with him in the infield. Barry Rabbit now actually probably got slightly more impetus on Westbrook to try and make some moves in the next coming lap as they're starting to lap another driver. John Westbrook is right up behind Max Hunt.
Yeah, here we go. We can see John Westbrook now. He's in the slipstream. This is his chance to go to the inside. It's left wide open, isn't it? By Max Hunt, not wanting to fight the outside and giving the position almost on a plate, isn't he, to John Westbrook? Now Max Hunt, though, is up 7 positions. He's having a good race so far and doesn't really want to jeopardize it. Although this time he will have the slipstream. He will have a chance to fight back into turn 4, and he's going to take the opportunity. So maybe that was a bit of tactical swap around, maybe a tactical just sort of letting him through, and then actually knows they make their way into turn 4. Backs out of the maneuver, instead going to try and slot in behind, use the slipstream to close up to maybe some of the cars in front. But look at this, speaking of up in front, Alec Westbrook is in and amongst this fight. He's got Barry Rabbit for company right behind him by the tune of about half a second, and with a lockup like that, Alec Westbrook, it's the pressure starting to show, isn't it, for the number 12 driver?
Yeah, it's suffering slightly with the slipstream down into turn number 4, which really caught Barry up. But unlike Anthony Mott on Westbrook, where Mott managed to just drop Westbrook quite significantly, Westbrook hasn't managed to drop Rabbit, and with 2 mistakes since we've been on having a look at him, into the braking zone, locking up, and then obviously running a touch wide, it's no surprise that Barry is really smelling blood in the water here, and Anthony Mott seems to be driving away with good pace here tonight. A little bit better than he has been in previous rounds that I've been seeing since he's joined in with the social races. I was going to say championship, but obviously we are not doing that. So it's nice to see him get a cleaner race, you know, getting through, and I think he's one of about 3 drivers that hasn't made any contact with another driver, and, you know, really pulling his legs and pushing himself to the limit. Yeah,
definitely, and that's what we like to see, is that drivers, they're not just mates, are they, on the circuit? When they put their helmets down, when they get their races underway, they are not friends, are they? They are there to win, which is something we absolutely love to witness. Meanwhile, look at this, there's fighting everywhere we look. John Newell closing up to Steve Gummer. What can he manage now? He does seem to get a good run through this first complex of corners, a great bit of a overlap in terms of speed. He's been forced to the outside, then he's going to dart to the inner line, trying to take the position into turn 4, hard on the brakes, careful not to lock up. And look at that, John Newell takes the position up into 13th place.
I thought Gummer was going to go for a cutback there, but I don't think he quite expected Newell to actually make the corner as well as he did. So good driving there by Newell, managed to stave off the attack of the number 121 car behind. Just for the time being anyway, that's for sure. As we now look a little bit more forward, but not quite right to the front, as John Westbrook normally is. He's in 6th place, and he's trying to catch Havanas Javorgian, so he's managed to get past Max Hunt into 6th, and now he's got his sights set for a little bit further forward. And as I said before in qualifying, John Westbrook is a driver who is quite often seen right at the front, if not on pole position. But he started in 2nd place, and then obviously had his little, what looked like an oil spill. It absolutely wasn't an oil spill, because iRacing doesn't do that. But it looked like just a random sort of spin of the cold tyres, coming out of one of the slower corners, and ended up further down. So that is why he's a recovering driver, not right at the front fighting for race leads and victories.
Yeah, definitely. This is something that's really exciting. There's John Westbrook. I'm just not sure about what his start was. It just seemed to get really unfortunate, and he, off the get-go, was involved in that little sort of tussle, I suppose, and now he's fighting up through the field. He's got Havanas...
Gevorgian.
we were told how to pronounce it. I think it was Gevorgian.
Oh,
I
is it
think.
Gevorgian?
I think because it's the same sort of G sound that's in Go. So I think it's Hovhannes Gevorgian.
We'll go with that then. We'll go with Gevorgian.
We'll go with that. And if I'm wrong, then I've really messed up somehow.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I just sort of like instinctively went for Gevorgian. But you could be right. Gevorgian, we'll go with that for now. I'm just having a look. I can't actually see the John Westbrook spin on my incident counter. So a bit of a shame that we can't see that one. But I tell you what, Alec Westbrook, is really caught up to Anthony Mott. Alec Westbrook giving the fastest lap of the entire race last time round with a 27.7. In fact, no, he didn't. Sorry, that's the best lap times that are on your screen at the moment. We want the last lap times would be preferable. There we go, and it's a 27.5 for Westbrook and a 27.8 for Mott. No wonder he's been caught drastically. And once you're in that slipstream, you sort of really can't pull away, can you? You're a bit of a sitting duck. You will be dragged into a fight.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to see this fight developing, aren't we? We can really witness how much Alec Westbrook is closing in every single corner. But then they do see those little lockups start to come through. But then there's an even bigger lockup up in front. And I think that was from back markers getting involved with one on another. Is that going to hold up? Our race leader, Anthony Mott, is trying to make his way through the slower traffic. He does manage it just before the the exit of the corner onto the straight, and now look at this, he's closed right up behind us, Alec Westbrook. He's taken advantage of some of the back marker traffic, and this is him going around the outside. Now he's got the run, he's got the speed, but will he have the ability to send it around the outside for the first corner? It will give him the inside for the next. Here we go, on to the brakes, he's going to go for it, isn't he? Sends it around the outside. Does he have the overlap for the inside? Well, he certainly does now, doesn't he? But look at this, two abreast. Still through turn 3, slotting into the slipstream. He's got a second bite of the cherry if he wants it. Into turn 4, tucking in behind, then moves to the left to go for the lead of the race. It's an easier line around the inside, and he's going to take it. Is he going to get hit on the cutback, though? Yes, he does. Brilliant fight back from Anthony Mott. This is excellent racing on display.
It is indeed, and it's very thankful that we see some fantastic as I say door to door, it's open wheel, isn't it? But wheel to wheel action here right at the front, fighting for race leads. We're 12 minutes and 40 seconds into what is apparently a 16-minute race. I think it's normally 15, but normally they run out of laps, to be honest. I think we do have laps going on as well, so we'll see if we can get that up. But Westbrook really putting the pressure on the Excite driver, who's getting a little bit wiggly out the corner there, didn't he? A little bit too much power maybe put down through his rear wheels, and as these cars are, there's a very limited amount of driver aids. Traction control certainly isn't one of them, so it is very difficult to get the car off the line as soon as the rear tyres start sort of bubbling up, I suppose, start going off. It can be very tricky.
Yeah, definitely. Look at this, they're still going at it now, aren't they? Alec Westbrook going for his second chance to take the lead of the race. He was ahead at the line, but is he going to be ahead going through turn 1? Yes, he is. He takes the position, but will he be under pressure? Will he be vulnerable now from a charging Anthony Mott, who's going to go to the outside line now? Does he have an overlap? Is he forced to go there? Will he lift out and then dart to the inside? No, he's two abreast, aren't they? Wheel to wheel as he makes his way, going for the cutback yet again through turn 4, but I don't think he's got the run. I don't think he's got a chance to send the move down the inside. No, he doesn't, going through the next corner. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but backs out the maneuver, has to concede the position, and we are on the final lap of the race. So Alec Westbrook, he's been able to snatch it right at the death. Anthony Mott with a lockup shows just how much he wants to take back the lead of the race, but with a mistake like that, it's starting to swing in the favor of Alec Westbrook. But the slipstream is going to be so key. The exit out the final corner is going to be the deciding factor. Will Anthony Mott be able to get the jump on Alec Westbrook up in front? He's closer now. He's going to be within the slipstream.
He is indeed, yeah. You shouldn't carry sort of cash out on Barry Rabbit just yet, but I think it's going to be Alec Westbrook's victory, isn't it? Because it looks like he's got a big enough gap all the way to the line. He's going, the time is coming down, but it's not going to be enough. So the checkered flag comes out, and it is dropped for Alec Westbrook here. And the first race of the Pure GT social races, Anthony Mott, after an entire race-long fight with the top honours driver, is having to settle for second place. Barry Rabbit, he was third for pretty much all the race. Well, he was third at the end of the race as well. Clive Bailey came over in fourth. John Westbrook rounds out the top 5 in, 5th position. Kevin McGlone, as we're having a look now, maybe lost out of position now. And Michael Silly, you are correct in the chat. It was great racing in the end, wasn't it? Even after a little bit of a scrappy start. That's often what we see here at Pure GT. A couple of races in, they'll be fighting fit, don't you worry. Formula cars always make for some great racing, says Katie. Indeed, they do. Well, you can take a breath now, Ed. That was certainly exhilarating, wasn't it? There was no hold bars between any of them, but right at the end, we had some fantastic wheel-to-wheel racing to enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. This was certainly a race that was filled with excitement, and one that I was surprised to see our pole sitter actually take a race victory. This is one of the few times I think we've actually seen the driver who puts it on pole taking a race victory. Alec Westbrook, he didn't have it all his own way. He had to fight very hard with Anthony Mott across the line, and it was only really in the last lap at the end that the positions finally sort of settled down up in front. Meanwhile, we're just seeing final few drivers make their way across the line, and now I think we're going to be jumping into the next race.
We will indeed. Yeah, we'll give a quick flash of the results, but we can only give a quick flash, so there they are. What we're going to have to do, though, is as the drivers are starting to grid up, they'll pretty much just jump straight into the next race. So there you go. If you are interested in what the results were for race 1, they're on your screen now. What we will do is revisit them after race 2, because basically how it works is race 1 comes about very quickly, and then race 2 is immediately after. So what we're going to have to do is now jump to race number 2 and the grid order. Havana Gevorgian, even, on pole position. John Westbrook finds himself yet again in 2nd place. Clive Bailey 3rd, Barry Rabbit was in 4th, Anthony Mott 5th, and Alec Westbrook 6th. And those keen-eyed viewers will notice that it is only a top 6 reverse grid. Race number 3 is a top 12. Max Hunt 7th, Kevin McGlone in 8th, Christian Wafer 9th, Paul Black in 10th, Paul Wafer in 11th place, and Richard Abra in 12th. Those of you who are pretty switched on as well will realise that if they are in this grid order, that must be the way they finished. John Newell was in 13th place, Andy Montgomery 14th, Peter Jennings in 15th, Steve Gummer 16th, Martin Thomas 17th, Alex Martin in 18th. Hopefully we won't see them fly at the inside and on their roof as quickly as they did last time. Anis in 19th, Adam Hayes 20th, Mark Hoskin 21st, and Chris Knox, who didn't start and didn't qualify, in 22nd place. And I would wager they probably won't do either this time out.
Yeah, maybe not. We'll see what happens as we have to watch Havana as he's taken out the field, isn't he? Not taken out the field. He's taken the field around.
He hasn't taken them out just yet. Let him get to at least the line.
I mean, they're not even going to get to the line before they
true.
They already saw half the field on their roof well before the first corner. We're going to see, though, if they've... I mean, they haven't learned, have they? They never learn. We'll expect to see maybe a quarter of the field on their roof.
Yeah, I mean, what are we, 3 months in? And we're still getting those sort of incidents. So I think at the end of the day, it's all about whether they have fun. Once they're back off their roofs, as long as they get into a race, even if it's for 22nd place, or, well, that is last place, but 18th place, say. As long as they're enjoying themselves out there, that is the main thing. And obviously, they'll try and keep it a little bit calmer for race 2, which is about to get underway. And keep an eye at the back of the field. Obviously, Havana Gevorgian even, and John Westbrook are leading the way, so no one can really go until Gevorgian goes. That didn't stop Alex Martin last time out, though, did it? As the safety car begins to peel in, you can see what I mean, though. It does take ages for the safety car to come in. All being a little bit more sensible here, aren't they? The green lights still haven't come on. It's still red. It's still red. They're still going 5 abreast, though, waiting for the green lights to go out, and we are racing here. Gevorgian gets into the lead very satisfactorily, but there's carnage already. John Westbrook gets through. Oh, Barry Rabbit already in the pit lane. He hasn't been even bothered. Here goes John Westbrook being turned around as well. Hold on to the brakes, boys. That's Anthony Mott turned around as well, and it's a car park, and there is nearly a car on the roof. Not quite.
That's, I think that's one of the Wafers. I'm not sure which one that is. That could be Paul Wafer. He's up on his side. They kind of merged together with one another. They're stuck. They can't separate. There they do finally get the wheels of sort of not locking step with one another. That was a. At least they managed to make through. Most of the field managed to make it through the first corner this time before having a big old incident. Look at this up in front though. Richard Abra making up 10 places. Nope, scratch that. Make that 11. He's up into the lead of the race, and we're not even done with half the lap.
No, indeed. Martin Thomas as well has screamed his way up 14 positions here to be in third. Somehow I don't know how drivers just make it through that sort of carnage. It just seems to be every man for himself. Sort of. Casey's come on the chat and said it's just a pile-on. That's exactly what it appears to be. And yet some people, Martin Thomas, Richard Abra, Alex Martin, and Mark Hoskin, they've all gained double figures from their starting positions. So fantastic starts for them. Disastrous starts for elsewhere. I mean, we said even Barry Rabbit. This is in fact, I'll go back to Barry Rabbit in a second because Martin Thomas is making moves on Havana's now in second place. Will Martin Thomas take what he probably thinks he deserves in a higher podium position? He set some purple sectors in the first race. He was very quick in qualifying. Now up to second, and he can probably sniff a race victory, you know, because I don't think Richard Abra has the pace on Thomas over a one lap. It's if Thomas can keep it going for 2 or 3 laps without getting too caught up, as Kevin McGlone now tries to get past Savanes and manages it.
Yeah, good pass there for third place by Kevin McGlone. He's going to be hunting down though the lead battle, isn't he? He's showing very good pace in the first race, and he's going to try and do a repeat of that, trying to carry himself up the order. See what he can manage. Meanwhile, Richard Abra, he's doing very good as we see someone getting that corner all sorts of out of shape. I'm not sure what that was, but look at this Christian Wafer. He's not hanging about. He's trying to get past the 666 of Mark Hoskin. Is he able to do it? Not quite yet. Anthony Mott on a charge through the field as well, fighting with Max Hunt. There's battling everywhere, isn't there? This early stage of the race is difficult to keep track of everything. We need our heads on swivels.
We do, yeah, we need a picture-in-picture or something, but I'm not about to set up a second iRacing account for it, so it'd be rather difficult for me, but that's exactly what we need. We need just a cameraman just to figure out where on earth all this is going on. But Anthony Mott, he crashed out on the second corner, didn't he? How on earth he's up to 5th place is beyond me. Going back to my points on Barry Rabbit, though. Barry, we saw him flying off in the first corner, and I don't think he even got to the first corner, to be honest, before going backwards. He spawned straight to the pit straight away because they don't have damage. And because I think they've turned the towing off, he just spawned straight back to the pit. He just drove around through the pit lane, which is coming up the exit of it here now. And Barry is actually ironically just swerved into. And that meant that he avoided all the race incident that happened at turn number 2 and going into 3, which meant he actually, although he crashed out and was dead last, because he avoided that by jumping to the pit, he came out in the top 10 into turn 4. So an astonishing turn of events, but actually it's probably quite a good tactic in this race.
Yeah, definitely. It's been we've been seeing a little bit of tactics, haven't we, coming into the fray here at these Pure GT social races, which just shows that, like I mentioned earlier, the drivers, while they are having a bit of fun, they do obviously still like to win and try and do all they can to get that across the line. Alexander Martin sitting in a bit of a battle with Barry Rabbit. Alexander Martin was, of course, the driver we saw go very early at the start of the race and spend a considerable amount of time on his roof. I hope for a little bit better than that. As Kevorkian, I think we saw him off the track there going out of the final corner. I think our pole sitter is having a nightmare.
Yeah, in fact, we can see what happens. I think just runs wide. Yeah, runs a touch wide, takes a little bit too much throttle, spins back across the track. Maybe lucky not to collect anyone else. Speaking of collecting anyone else, actually, no. First of all, Barry Rabbit and Anthony Mott going against each other here, but it looks like Anthony Mott has driven away with it after that replay. So, good driving by him so far. Barry, though, having to defend hard against Alex Martin. He worked hard to get past her. But now it's a chance for him to defend into the 4th corner. Managing just about to pull that off for now. Just having a look and see if we can find anything of what happened. John Westbrook, I saw having a little bit of a crash before we even had the green flag. So I'm just trying to find out what was cracking there. In fact, here we go. Kevin McGlone's incident into turn number 1. Going for, I mean, they're already 3 or 4 wide, aren't they? It's Alex Westbrook on the inside, going around the outside, braking really early, but doesn't really have an option, does it? He just gets piled into. If anything, Kevin McGlone was doing bang on the right thing, somehow gets away with it thanks to iRacing physics. And then a puff of smoke, and all of a sudden there's a car there, and again, somehow gets away with it for iRacing physics. But you can just see, even if you're trying to do the right thing, Ed, it can all go horribly wrong for you for no fault of your own.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate, isn't it? It's what racing is. If it, it's never a fair business, is it? You do sometimes get these little moments where you're completely innocent, and you still end up getting taken out. Meanwhile, look at this, Clive Bailey in a big fight. Is he trying to go around the outside of Alexander Martin into the first corner, but backs out a bit, tries to get the run for the next bit of track, the next overtaking opportunity. But there's contact, is there, or is it just a bump over the curb for Alexander Martin? He spins all the way around once and twice and then gets it pointing in the right direction. Let's go on board with Alexander and see. He's, don't know, it might be a little bit of contact.
I think
I heard a
touch
gets
of
it back
contact.
up and running.
Listen in, I think there was a touch of contact. Oh, no, maybe not. I thought there was a noise there, but maybe not. Hard to see.
Could be the bit of net code coming into the fray, because, well, last time we did see, and last time in the commentary box, there was a lot of net code, so maybe iRacing is seemingly struggling at the moment.
Potentially so. One driver that doesn't seem to be struggling all that much, though, is Barry Rabbit fighting through. But Anthony Mott, that means, if Barry is now 5th place, that means Anthony Mott is no longer. No, down to 9th position. And the reason why is about to appear on your screen. Going side by side. I'm not sure who that is with. It is Max Hunt, actually. Gets forced out wide. And there we go. There's the open wheel classic crash, isn't it? And it doesn't get much sort of classic than that.
No, it really doesn't. It's unfortunate, isn't it? Anthony Mott, the driver that we saw such good things from, unfortunately not having same sort of race he was expecting or potentially hoping for coming in to the second race of 3. Barry Rabbit, though, look at this. He's under a lot of pressure from Max Hunt. The slipstream is going to help out Max, isn't it? Going into turn 4. The cars are giving each other plenty of space, aren't they? Really keeping social distancing. Stuff you like to see in this day and age, of course, but snapping, isn't it, across the nose, swiping away, and Barry Rabbit's trying to hold on to this position as hard as he can. Again, we're getting very close to one another, but this is Barry Rabbit's 4th position for the moment.
It is, yeah, defending hard about it. Oh, there was almost a big incident there. Max Hunt locking up and almost going straight into the back of him, but that has given Barry at least a 1.3 second margin. So as things calm down a touch, I will just give it a shout out because I forgot to do it earlier. Big thank you to Michael Seal, Katie Eames for the shares and the likes, and Matt Emmons, of course, as well. So big thank you to you guys. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow, depending whether you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook, for more pure GT races, as well as racing for the next gen GTE League here on a Friday night, hosted on Jacko Racing again, as well as a few other things. BSR with Ed quite a lot of the time as well, so it's a good channel to follow, I'd say. Here's a good race to follow, though, in Clive Bailey and Anthony Mott, who seems to be fighting his way back up the order again for the second time this evening. How many times can he fight his way up the order through the series of a 10-lap race? Well, we're finding out.
Yeah, definitely. Let's have a little look here. He's getting wheel to wheel with the number 2 of Clive Bailey, Anthony Mott, using the slipstream to his advantage. He's going to go to the outside. He's going to be forced to the outside. Massive snap over the curb. He holds on to it. Amazing stuff. I want to see the onboard just to see how much you had to snap the wheel to regain control, because that looked like a very scary moment for Anthony Mott.
Yeah, let's see if we can find it. So this is going into the first corner on board. We should see Clive Bailey just on the inside probably reappear. There he is in the Red Bull machine. Goes through the second corner, and the third one, does he just touch the apex? No, does he touch the outside? Is he just going to... Oh, I tell you what, it's a scary catch, isn't it? But a catch nonetheless, so fair play to him. John Newell's had an incident, unfortunately, as well, as we just see Anthony Mott staying ahead of of Clive Bailey for now, hunting down Christian Wafer. Not too long to do it. Let's have a look at what happened to John Newell.
Yeah, so this is the number 19 all by himself into the first corner. Is it a touch of the grass on the way in? Oh no, it's just the characteristic. You don't have the downforce. You can't send it in like that. You need to, it sounds a bit counterintuitive, but you need to take more speed in to keep the air flowing over the car and keep the grip up. You don't have any weight to keep the car down, to keep it nice and flat to the ground. You need to use that air to give it some form of, I guess, weight of the air pushing over it. But we do see a spin in the background. That's Clive Bailey.
Yeah, another classic case of just over rotation. The rear wheels may be giving out just a touch, aren't they? Because again, it's a similar place, a little bit further down, but again, it's that sort of weight transfer. It's the right to left, the left to right. Maybe if you're not going fast enough, as you said, it's a little bit counterintuitive. I actually used to drive in the G40s with little MX-5 basically. All of a sudden I jump up to the GT4 Super Cup, and all of a sudden it's got a little bit of aero. I'm not saying it's got loads of aero, but the idea of having to, to make it grippier, to make it safer, you actually have to drive faster was a concept that I pretty much struggled with. So I was going quite slowly for my first test at Donington Park. All of a sudden, my brother, who was my driver coach at the time, still is if I was racing, he said, honestly, just keep your foot pinned and it'll be fine. You will grip up. Would you like to take a guess what happened, Ed, through Old Hairpin?
Did you crash?
I crashed.
Horribly?
I crashed big time. He said take a little bit more speed in, 5 miles an hour or so. What did I do? I took 25 miles an hour in and went straight off, didn't I? Foolish. It was a sign of things to come, unfortunately, for that season. But I think a non-aero car is probably where I'm more suited, which is why I can't drive one of these F3s.
Oh dear, but I'm sure it's maybe you need to use a bit of iRacing to try and get to grips with the F3s. Maybe that'll help you out in future. That could be something to think about. Of course, iRacing is something that a lot of drivers are using to sharpen their skills, both in real life. I've actually, whoa, massive moment from Havans Gevorgian there, getting a bit of a help up the rear from, I think that was the number 2 of Clive Bailey. And, well, Red Bull gives not just yourself wings, but it seems the other car as well, as we see him get very airborne as soon as he clatters into the barriers. Look at that, slight tap at the rear. Car jumps up in the air, and then look at this. Somersaults several times, doesn't he? Following that hit into the barrier.
Yeah, it makes you feel a bit ill, doesn't it? Let's get away from that. Alec Westbrook, obviously winner of race number... Well, he was on pole position, actually. I can't remember off the top of my head. Did he end up winning it? He did end up winning it. Of course he did. Yes, of course he did. He's in 10th position. Now, that means he started in 6th place. Got caught up with a little bit of incident and ended up down in 10th. So, yeah, not going so well for him. Or Anthony Mott either. We've mentioned a couple of times. But one driver who has gone very well for is Richard Abra, who is in the race lead. And I said Martin Thomas probably has the race pace on him. I couldn't have been more wrong. In the best lap of the race so far, Martin Thomas... who at 20, oh my days, something's happened to Martin Thomas. Something big has happened to Martin Thomas. As I was about to talk him up, he's span off and in 4th now. So Richard Abra now has an 8.6 second gap to Kevin McGlone. Now, can Martin Thomas hold on to the position that he has inherited in 4th place? Or will he lose out to Hunt, Mott and Wafer? All of a sudden, a very close battle.
Yeah, this battle is really hotting up, isn't it? This is... very exciting to watch. Anthony Mott in hot pursuit, isn't he, of Max Hunt? But then he can't worry too much about the car in front because he's got the number 15 of Christian Wafer for company. So all of a sudden, Anthony Mott's in a very tricky situation in his fight back up through the field. Look at this, looks to the outside line. Is he going to get the overlap? No, he's not. He's a wider line, though, on exit. Does give him a chance to get on the throttle that little bit early, give him a good run. He sends it down the inside, then going to have the outside once more. I think what he's throwing everything and the kitchen sink really at Max Hunt. This fighting is allowing Arrowhead to build up a margin, but meanwhile, when Richard Abra basically at the first lap got in front, it never looked in doubt, did it? He was very consistently quick, didn't have any little mistakes, and he's taking the race victory for the second race this evening.
Yeah, we've got to focus on this little battle, though, because it's going to go right down to the line. I think Anthony Mott, Christian Wafer, I think Max Hunt has managed to secure his 5th position, but Anthony Mott and Wafer come across the line less than a 10th of a second between each other. And in fact, sorry, no, I got that wrong, actually. It was Hunt and Mott less than a 10th of a second between each other as I think Martin Thomas gets turned around for good measure as well. So Remember, we will be able to bring you the results from race number 1, followed by race number 2 as well in the upcoming, just before we go to a very quick break, before we maybe have some interviews, or maybe we just come back for the 3rd race of the evening. Not entirely sure just yet, but it's, yeah, a reminder of how it's going to go. We do have, well, we've had 2 races already, 2 15-minute races, 2 10-lap races, come on Jack, followed by a little bit of a break. Then we go into the 3rd and final race of the evening, again another 10-lap sprint race. We just have a little break in the middle, just so the drivers can go for a pee, basically. Simon Robson, thank you very much for the like on the stream, and we'll bring up the race results for Heat 1 now. Take it away, Ed.
Yes, we have, of course, our race winner. In fact, that was for the first race. Yes, that was. So that was Alec Westbrook, our race victor for the first race of the evening, ahead of Anthony Mott. But it was a close run thing, wasn't it? They were fighting all the way through, right till the bitter end. Barry Rabbit comes home in 3rd place from the first race with the rest of the field as follows: Clive Bailey ahead of John Westbrook, Vanessa Gevorkian, Max Hunt, Kevin McGlone, Christian Wafer, and Paul Black rounds out the top 10 with Paul Wafer, Richard Abra, John Newell, Andy Montgomery, Peter Jennings, Steve Gummer, Martin Thomas, and Alexander Martin there in 18th place. And then I think there might be a couple more drivers. Yet there are Anis Sutavala, Adam Hayes, and then Mark Hoskin with Chris Knox. I think he was there, but I don't think I actually saw Chris Knox out on track.
No, I don't think Chris Knox has been out on track at all this evening, which is a bit of a shame. And for some reason, we're not allowed to see the... Oh, no, there we go. We can now see the... There we go. Come on. There we go. This is the consolation race, which is effectively race number 2 of the evening. Richard Abra wins by over 6 seconds, nearly 7 seconds from Kevin McGlone. Martin Thomas was in 3rd. Max Hunt was in 4th, only just ahead of Anthony Mott. 6th place was Mark Hoskin. Alex Martin in 7th. Alec Westbrook in 8th place. Anis in 9th. Clive Bailey 10th after a little bit of a more of a chaotic second half of that second race. Paul Black in 11th. Havanas Gevorkian in 12th. Paul Wafer 13th. Steve Gummer in 14th. Oh, actually, Havanas Gevorkian will be starting on pole position for race number 3 in a couple of minutes' time. Steve Gummer 14th, Andy Montgomery 15th, Peter Jennings in 16th, 17th John Newell, 18th Adam Hayes. I always forget I'm doing this. Barry Rabbit in 19th, Christian Wafer in 20th, 21st John Westbrook, and again not starting, not competing is Chris Knox, knocking on the door. Right, we will be going to a very quick break now. Hopefully very quick. We just, hopefully give us a little bit of a warning by the time they come back in, because sometimes I like to just chuck us straight into the race without letting us know whilst we're still on the break. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Don't go anywhere. and welcome back to what will be the third and final race of the Pure GT social races here at Interlagos. My name is Jack Oliphant, we're on Jacko Racing, and alongside me is my ever-present partner in crime in pretty much any series I ever do, Ed May. We've had two fantastic races so far, a little bit chaotic, I'll give you that one, but what are you expecting in the third race? I'm guessing much of the same.
Yeah, I really am. This is going to be a great evening's racing here for the third and final time here at Interlagos. And these final races, it's where the drivers really go for broke if they haven't been going already, haven't they? They really put on a really great show. And I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how they're going to shape up and, well, go at each other basically for the next 15 or so minutes.
Well, if they've been holding back before, I can't imagine they can... I'd love to see what they're like when they're not holding back, put it that way. We're going to jump in to see what's cracking because we've got about 10 seconds before we are going live. So let's have a quick look at some of the drivers that we can expect to be seeing. I think only a few of them. Oh, looks like Chris Knox has actually made an appearance in the slightly more... Well, it's not actually the more classic Ferrari, is it? It's still got that green horrendous thing on the back of it. But it's going to be Chris Knox will actually be racing this time round. And he's a quick driver, Ed, as we all know. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can crack on. But read us out the grid.
Yeah, we can see it now. The grid is Clive Bailey on pole position with Anis Sutawala alongside him on the front row. Alec Westbrook behind in third, and Alexander Martin rounds out the second row. Mark Hoskin is fifth with Anthony Mott alongside in sixth. Max Hunt and Martin Thomas 7th and 8th with Kevin McGlone and Richard Abra rounding out the top 10. 11th sees Paul Black with Havanas Gevorkian lining up alongside him. 13th down, well, then we'll see Paul Wafe with Steve Gummer, Anthony Montgomery, Peter Jennings, John Newell, Adam Hayes, Barry Rabbit, Christian Wafer, John Westbrook, and Chris Knox rounding out the field. And now if there's any time for Chris Knox to appear and raise his head from the depths of the F3s, it's now, isn't it?
He really needs to pull something out. Rachel Thomas is in the chat, giving a shout out to Anis. Do let me know how we pronounce Anis's second name, please, if you do know, Rachel, because we don't really want to butcher it, so we just keep calling him Anis, but we don't really want to obviously treat him any differently than anybody else. So we do let us know if you can sort of spell it phonetically.
I've just seen something. Look at who is out on track. Right towards the back of the field is the one and only Chris Knox. He's made it to the grid. Look at him, you're not going to miss him. Bright red Ferrari livery with the horrible green mission winnow or whatever it'd be pronounced as. That horrible green brightness blinding you. Aside from that, though, good to see him on the grid.
Yeah, no, I'm sure he'll take your criticism on board and feed it back to Ferrari. No, I think they've been given a lot of stick, haven't they, Ferrari, for just whacking those massive great M on the back, hasn't there? There's a lot of other colours that they could have done a lot more tastefully, but they seem to have decided to just make it as bold as possible. Some people actually do that, don't they, for just the publicity. Any publicity, bad publicity is good publicity, if that makes sense, sort of thing. It has done the rounds on social media. It's probably one of the biggest F1 livery launches of the season, purely because it is so conspicuous, shall we say, in its delivery. But I'm not a fan of it either, if that makes any sense. And he's on pole position then. In second position. Clive Bailey's actually the driver who is going to keep control as the safety car peels in. Are they going to go 3 or 4 wide before we even start racing? No! They're going to crash each other out, and it looks like Clive Bailey is going to have the lead of the dreamed for as Anis gets turned around before the first corner. Chris Knox is in the air. All of a sudden, he's regretting turning up this evening for the final race of the evening. Barry Rabbit's already up 13 places, and he's not even in turn 1 yet. I think he could gain even more because it looks like there's been an incident at turn 2, and it is even more. He's already into the top 5, just managing to keep his head above water. And I'm already out of breath.
I want to see from that beginning of the race, from Barry Abbott's point of view, made up 14 places. Chris Knox still on his roof. I wonder if he's going to be hanging out there waiting for the rest of the field to come by and maybe see if someone's kind enough to try and right him back on all four wheels. He has gotten back up and running eventually, so I think someone was probably very kind to get him up and moving. Other cars still stationary in the background. My word, what is going on up here? There's still fighting going on. Barry Rabbit now up 15 places. Could be 16 because look at this. He is in hot pursuit in the, I think it's the 1991 Jordan livery is what we found out last time we were in the box together for this series, Jack. And he's certainly going at that pace as well. Very quick indeed.
I've been trying to get back up to when we had the race start on my event ticket. And,
Whoa.
a spin around for Martin Thomas. Looked like it was all on his own as well as Thomas takes a tumble. And fortunately for him, there's all the way down into 9th. Now he's dropped outside the top 10. That has promoted the likes of Hoskin and Barry Rabbit. So this is now a fight not only for podium positions, it's a fight for second place. They're both in the podium as a 666 driver and Barry Rabbit go toe-to-toe. And it is Barry who locks up. He goes deep over the grass, over the second corner. Can he get it back on without spinning? It sounds easy. It's absolutely not. He loses out on not only his second position that he gained and worked hard for, but his third as well. He's into 4th place and now trying to fight off Kevin McGlone. He's gone defensive already into the 4th corner. Well, we haven't even got to the 4th corner and Kevin McGlone's already given him jip.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look, see what was going on. Look at this Barry Rabbit still fighting, isn't he? He's still trying to get his way up the order. Paul Wafer's not giving... Well, not like Paul Wafer, sorry. Kevin McGlone's not giving it up without a fight, but Barry Rabbit now keeps that position nice and safely and now can focus on catching up to and trying to pass Paul Wafer. Don't know, though, what on earth happened to kickstart all of that madness at the start, Jack. I'm guessing your event view is just a sea of red. There we go. We're going to see on board with Barry Rabbit at the beginning of the race. This is when the green flag drops. He goes immediately to the left-hand side, avoiding all of the carnage up on the right. But what on earth was happening up there? Why was there so much? Oh my word, he was the one that actually caused a little bit of an accident at turn 1. Sends in. He's very lucky to get away with all of that carnage, I think.
Well,
as I say that though,
he's gone round.
never mind. Oh dearie me, Barry Rabbit. It was going so well, and then as soon as we come back to come after what was a very excellent start, we come back to something less excellent. Facing the wrong way and off the road. It's unfortunate, but that's just sometimes the way that the races go. Meanwhile, John Westbrook is up the driver gaining the most places, up 14, make that 15 from the start of the race, as Paul Wafer is falling back down now. There seems to have been something maybe going on at turn 1, because Paul Wafer's falling down the order. Meanwhile, Anthony Mott's trying to go up the order.
He is indeed, yeah. Actually, Anthony is driving really rather well, isn't he? With John Westbrook now 5 seconds or 5.3 seconds behind. If Anthony doesn't get on with this and he starts fighting with Kevin McGlone, that 5-second lead could be diminished really rather quickly. Oh, it looks like he's almost going to go into the back of Kevin McGlone, but it's not to be just yet. I tell you what, Clive Bailey's done a fantastic job as well. We haven't given him enough credit yet. First place, obviously he had a little bit of help thanks to the fact that everybody decided to try and kill each other into the, before we even got to the first corner. But he has still kept his 3.7 gap ahead of Mark Hoskin, who in turn has got a 3.5 second gap ahead of the battle that you're seeing on your screens right now. So fair play to him. You know, credit where it's due, Ed. You know, to be finishing first you have to finish, and you also have to be fairly consistent. It's exactly what Clive is doing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. We're watching him now, aren't we? Racing up through the field. Clive Bailey, though, he's so clear ahead. Still setting in purple lap times. Anthony Mott, though, what's he going to do? He's fighting wheel to wheel with Kevin McGlone, who has now set the first lap of the race. A slight lock-up, I think, from Kevin, but he holds on to the position nonetheless. Anthony Mott, though, he's on a charge. He's going to try and go around the outside. We've already seen before he's had contact here off of the curbs. He's going to be contacted when he comes back onto the circuit. And oh dear, that was never going to work when the number 13 just didn't give him room to rejoin the circuit. There was a car there. Number 13 tried to run him out of road and then got run off into the wall.
Martin Thomas and Kevorkian, nice and close out on the circuit as well. But you're absolutely right. I will try and get a replay of what's on earth just happened there, and between Anthony Mott and Kevin McGlone. In fact, here we go. I can catch one now. Roll bar with Anthony Mott. Then you can keep on board. Just for the time being, he comes back on circuit, and there we go. It just looked like Kevin McGlone didn't really ever give him the opportunity to come back on circuit. You couldn't argue that McGlone was forced off on the right-hand side there with momentum or anything like that, because he was going on the straight and narrow. The car was completely straight. He could have easily made a little bit of room to come back on for the driver, but it just wasn't to be. So we're on board. Well, we're having a look at Martin Thomas, but further down, actually, Max Hunt is in a really nice little fight here, and I'm just trying to keep an eye out. Chris Knox is in 16th position. Unfortunately, well, I say fortunately, he's about 0.3 of a second behind Adam Hayes, but after that, you've got multiple, about 5-second gaps between each and every driver. So that we'll see Chris Knox fighting through for the final, it looks like 7 laps. We've got a 12-lap feature race here right at the end, so a little bit longer to enjoy here tonight.
Yeah, it's been very dry, has it, so far this evening? And you know what, 2 laps extra, I do not mind that one bit. We can see now, though, close fighting, isn't it? 4 cars all fighting for 8th position. Max Hunt, though, in the lead of this train now and trying to build the gap, trying to close up to the likes of Barry Rabbit and Hovannes Gevorkian further in front. A little bit of a look in the background. I think that was Paul Wafer giving a slight sniff on Kevin McGlone. Meanwhile, Andy Montgomery using all of the road and a little bit more, trying to hold on and try and hold off the advances of Kevin McGlone, who's going to send it around the outside, holding on to that position. So Andy Montgomery losing out from that mistake at turn 4.
Yeah, but Max Hunt locking up and contact with Kevin McGlone yet again. He's in the wars today, isn't he? He's definitely not one to be taking things lying down as Kevin McGlone. And you can see that here as he sorts up the inside and there's more contact. Oh, to be fair to him that time, I thought maybe the door was just left just a touch open. But it didn't really come off. They're still touching wheels with Montgomery. So Hunt goes through into 8th place. Kevin McGlone in 9th. Andy Montgomery rounds out the top 10. And then Paul Wafer is coming knocking on the door.
It's all kicking off, isn't it? This is absolutely enthralling racing we're being treated to here. It's kicking off left, right, centre. Meanwhile, fastest laps being set higher up the order. Anthony Mott in pursuit of the race lead. I'm not sure if he'll be able to make it. He could do if he keeps this level of pace up to be within a shot at the end of the race. Meanwhile, though, Kevin McGlone, he's going to see if he's in the slipstream enough to challenge Max Hunt into turn number 4. I don't think he will be, so he'll have to wait his time, wait a little while before making himself up the order. And look, who is that in the background? I think that is Alec Westbrook, pole sitter and race leader in the first race. Going to see if he can have some race winning pace here, though, from now on, because at the start of the race he was caught up in that big incident early on. He's going to try and hope for a good fight through the field now.
Yeah, he needs it, doesn't he? He's obviously there's no championship standings, no championship points on offer here, but it's still, yeah, a case of pride as he flies around the outside of Andy Montgomery. He's doing exactly that, isn't he? He's looking up the inside of Paul Wafer, not messing about. I think he's watching the stream as he gets a little tap at the rear end. I think he must be watching the stream, listening to you here, Ed.
Maybe you might just be. Yeah, we're going to see if he can. Look at that, he just carves his way through, doesn't he? And now he's going to see if he can catch up to the likes of Kevin McGlone. As meanwhile, in the background, they're sort of following one another, aren't they? They're copying each other's moves, tit for tat. But this time, Andy Montgomery is the one that lucks out from both of their mistakes. Paul Wafer, unfortunately, losing out that time, although he does have the slipstream to use to his advantage to catch back up and maybe challenge either into the first corner or into turn 4. With this up in front, however, Hovannes Gevorkian, he's got Barry Rabbit for company now. I said Barry's going to be looking to pressure at this stage in the race, and he certainly is right now. Is he closing down not enough to properly make any overtake attempts into turn 4, and instead is biding his time, waiting that little while. We're going to put the pressure on it in the mid-sector, either see if Hovannes makes a mistake or instead works on getting the best run possible out of the final corner and making the move stick into turn 1.
Yeah, just while it calms down just a touch, let's give a little bit of appreciation and camera time to Clive Bailey, because to be fair, maybe in the wars last time in race number 2, but today and in this particular race, he's been superb, hasn't he? Really good, strong showing by him, and really deserving his race lead at the moment. Mark Hoskin in second place as well. Not a driver we mentioned an awful lot this evening, but he is in second place. And he's got a monumental gap between himself and Anthony Mott in second place. And remember, Anthony looked like he was on for a race victory. So he's like not exactly slow. And in fact, Anthony has set the fastest lap of the race. He was a full second quicker last lap than Mark Hoskin, and in fact the lap before that as well he was a full second quicker than Hoskin. So although he's got a 5-second gap, 4 laps to go, he's going to have to do slightly better than 1 second advantage each and every lap, isn't he? He's going to have to get 1.2, 1.5 seconds in there before he's going to have an opportunity to make an overtake for second place.
Yeah, let's have a look here.
Barry
What
Rabbit's
will
got past.
happen? Oh, he has got past, actually. When did that happen? Was that just he set it up into the in the midfield somewhere? Did he get a chance to look? Yes, he does, down the inside, and Evanis, he doesn't really fight that one, does he? He backs out of it, keeps it nice and safe. Great driving there from the American, just to keep it nice and safe and not worry too much. Meanwhile, look at this. Chris Knox is fighting through the field after spending much of his time early on his roof. Is now back up and running. He spent more time in the first lap on his roof than he did on all 4 wheels, so that just shows how his start of the race went. But now this fight through the field has been very good indeed. The fastest man through the technical middle sector. He's very quick, isn't he, at the moment, and putting a lot of pressure on Max Hunt. A slight lock up there. He's got the door wide open for anyone behind to have a look. That was Christian Wafer with a very late lunge that almost ended in tears. Look at this, though. He's going to try and get the overlap, lock of the brakes, putting the number 6 Max Hunt off his line. And then again, looking to the outside, getting the switchback, opening the corner as much as he can. That means he can turn in early with a shallower steering angle, not scrubbing the speed. Instead, closes down, doesn't he? And he's in the best position to try and make the move stick. Going into turn 1, look at this, close in the slipstream. Ever so quick, getting faster every single time. Not got the air resistance. He pulls to the outside now. He's going to try and make it stick. Is he going to be able to pull it off, though? Look at this, into turn 1. Not quite able to pull it off into the first corner, but instead sets himself up beautifully for the run through turns 2 and now along left-hander of 3. Already defensive, we can see Max Hunt. He's going there to the left-hand side of the track, not giving Chris Knox any space whatsoever. Chris Knox forced to the outside. He's going to take a big run to get the cutback maneuver. Really sends it in. Does he have to back out? Does he have to get out of the throttle? No, he doesn't. And sends it through off 2 wheels onto the grass. He's going to have to turn in. He's going to have the 6 down the inside. He's still forcing it too wide, still wheel to wheel. And I think finally Chris Knox has to give up the position. Is he going to lose out, though, to Christian Wafer, who sends himself in the mix and takes out both himself and Max Hunt?
Well, that was an extremely fantastic battle that was sort of ruined right at the end there, unfortunately, isn't it? But 2 green cars here, Barry Rabbit and Martin Thomas going side by side. Thomas has done nothing, unfortunately, but spin and not really shown quite the race pace that he showed in qualifying over the overall pace. But it looks like these 2 are probably going hammer and tongs at each other. So it's lovely to see as Barry Rabbit flashes in and out of existence. If yesterday's commentary is anything to go by, Eddie will be claiming that he has a lag switch on him. But it's just, I think, the fact that he's struggling a little bit.
Yeah, it's good to have a little bit of a ribbon of some of the drivers. It does help. It does help having your blinking internet in certain situations. I found it in the Daytona 24 hours where my internet was blinking in and out, which helped us a little bit down the straights. However, it did put us in the position at the end with about an hour to go as I started my final stint. My internet completely dropped out and we had to tow and lose a lap on the competition. So, it swings around. Sometimes the poor internet helps, and other times it's a big hindrance. But for the most part, it seems to be working out.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not necessarily a risk I'm willing to take, to be fair. I've actually just found out. I've been searching.
Sometimes you don't have a choice if you take the risk or not.
That's very true, yeah, actually, that is extremely true. I know the pains before I moved to Leeds over in Cheshire. I was in the middle of the countryside. I had something like 0.2 megabytes or something ridiculous for a long, long time. Very painful. I've been searching for it for a long time, Ed. I finally found it just before the end of the race. Chris Knox's incident on turn number 1. Shall we have a quick look at it?
Let's have a little look at Chris Knox. Talk us through what's going on, because I can't quite see the pictures fully yet.
Oh my days. Well, we'll do it again, because that was sensational, to be honest. We'll go down quarter speed. We'll speed it up for now. We'll go down quarter
I can see
speed.
it now.
I mean, look at this.
And
All of a
there's-
sudden, poofs of smoke left, right, and centre, Ed. But look at how he just sides through straight through the middle here. God knows how he
Whoa.
does that. And then all of a sudden, I'm still figuring out how on earth he ends up on his roof. That's how,
Oh,
because
dear.
Alec Westbrook gets turned around, he goes into him, up and around. And all of a sudden, that's not what you want to see, is it? As you're flying towards another car. It's Tom and Jerry's face enlarging
Well,
straight into you.
I think I might be right, but Chris Knox actually runs in VR. So when he was all those cars spinning around in front of him, he was probably having to like duck to try and get out of the way to try and avoid everything going on, because it does feel very real when you're in VR and you see things flying at you at an incredibly high rate of speed. You can't help yourself but try and duck out of the way, even though you're not actually in any mortal peril. But look at this up at the front of the field. I think Clive Bailey, he's going to take the... Oh no, he's going to start the final lap. Or is that the end? No, that's the final lap. He's finished this race. Clive Bailey, we didn't really watch too much of him, did we? But that was just because he got the best start possible, kept himself out of trouble while everyone else was basically going mad. Meanwhile, this is it. Drag race to the line. Alec Westbrook and Havanas Gevorgian, they collide. They spin into the pit lane. And who's this that's going to come all the way on through? I think that might have been... Was that Martin Thomas that came across the line to take 6th place? An unlikely 6th place, but look at this. They're all struggling. What on earth happened there? Are they trying to force each other perhaps into the pit lane, and both of them lost out?
I think if anybody remembers the Interlagos race from last year in the Formula 1, with, I think it was last year anyway, or was it Pierre Gasly?
It was the year
Hamilton?
before. It was Gasly and Hamilton 2019.
Yeah, that looked very similar to that, didn't it? And it didn't quite, well, it didn't really finish the same way. I'm just trying to find it, to be honest, with a crash. I can't actually see it. This isn't the crash though with Kevin McGlone, was it? So I'll see if I can keep searching for it.
Havanas, oh my word, what's going on into turmoil? Let's ignore whatever on earth is happening with those two drivers. But it was, I believe, Havanas Gevorgian, and it might have been Barrow. I'm not sure, but there was a lot of things that went on in that race.
It was indeed, yeah. And just before we read out the results, I'm just trying to very quickly find it, but I don't know if I'm going to actually have any success. So we'll read out the results, and we didn't put enough credit on the name, to be fair, because we didn't see him cross the finish line, unfortunately. That was my mistake. I do apologise to Clive Bailey, but he is the victor here at the Pure GT Social Races at Interlagos. Fantastic drive by him. Never really looked in doubt. I mean, a lot of my event ticket was coming up with crashes, with off-tracks and everything. Didn't want to see Clive Bailey's name, so that says it all, really, in my opinion. Mark Hoskin was 2nd place, but not by as much as he probably would have liked by the end. Anthony Mott managed to make up 4 seconds to get within a second of Hoskin and to be on 3rd place in the podium. John Westbrook ended up in 4th, finally converting what was good pace in qualifying into a respectable race result. Barry Rabbit was in 5th place, Martin Thomas in 6th, Kevin McGlone in 7th, Andy Montgomery 8th, Paul Wafer 9th, Havanas Gevorgian ended up in 10th and in the pit lane somehow at the end of that race. Christian Wafer 11th, Max Hunt in 12th, Steve Gummer in 13th, Anise in 14th, Adam Hayes 15th, Paul Black 16th, Alec Westbrook a lap down thanks to the fact that he had to, well, he was halfway through the pit lane by the time he hit the actual checkered flag. Chris Knox also a lap down, apparently. Alex Martin was 2 laps down in 19th, John Newell in 20th, 8 laps down, and Richard Aber and Peter Jennings both 11 laps down in 21st and 22nd. Now, I'm just still trying to have a look, but give us a little bit of your thoughts. We may have an interview or two coming in, Ed, for a few of the drivers. It's hard to say, isn't it, really? Some of the drivers just like to come in for a chat, but others you really want to have a chat too, and with eventful evenings racing like we've had here today, the likes of Kevin McGlone would be a very interesting conversation to have.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great to have a word after all of that excitement, all of that madness that we were treated to early on, and well, throughout this entire evening, hasn't it? We've been treated to brilliant excitement. Every single race has had its fair share of thrills and spills, but you wouldn't expect anything less, would you, from these Pure GT social races? Because you can say what you like about the sort of the racing standards we see, but you can't take away from the fact that it's enjoyable, and these drivers, they keep coming back for more.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just having a look at the replay here. It's just Chris Knox, and he's just lit up about 5 crashes, and I think it's just because he seems to have broken his car.
He's just going off track. He's just pootling around off the circuit. Just
It
takes you off
sounds
track
like his
after off
engine's
track.
broken though, doesn't it? It sounds like he's driving a lawnmower.
Very weird considering there shouldn't be any damage, so I don't know if it does engine damage either.
I'm not entirely sure. I think he's just trying to elongate the fact that he only had one race and he wants to make it last. Anyway, let's have a look and see if we haven't got any interviews coming in. To be fair, I mean, they're not obligated to come in for an interview, are they? It's not like there's a championship on offering here, and it was quite a lot of carnage, so some people might just be a little bit annoyed and might not want to come on to have a chat. So I think it's probably safe to wrap things up. Ed, what are your final thoughts here at Interlagos? We don't know where we're going next, but I'm sure it'll be just as entertaining and probably just as much carnage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, both the entertainment and the carnage, I think they go hand in hand, don't they? Here, the pure GT. But like you mentioned, there aren't many drivers coming in for an interview. I think there aren't any drivers. They're all a bit. I think they're a bit shy, aren't they? They're not wanting to turn up and talk about their race. But I'm certain that they really did enjoy it, and we did in the booth as well, Jack. I can't wait for the next round in a week's time.
Indeed. So on that note, thank you very much for watching the Pure GT social races on Jacko Racing. If you have enjoyed it, then be sure to leave a follow or a like or a subscribe or any of those sort of things for more action. The Next Gen GTE iRacing League is on Friday from 8 PM. Sure, that'll be very exciting. I think last time out we were actually at Interlagos, ironically, which is maybe why I think that I've been here so quickly. And then next Wednesday, obviously, will be a Pure GT. And there's a couple more exciting things in the line as well. So if you haven't ever heard of Grid Finder, they're a big grid finding website. If you want to race, you can get onto their website. And you can actually end up sort of finding a race league in things like F1, Assetto Corsa, R-Factor 2, iRacing, anything like that as well. And what we're doing is a special iRacing NASCAR Trucks event on Saturday. We're kicking it off. It's going to be fantastic fun. It kicks off at 7 o'clock, the stream. You can find it over on Grid Finder's Facebook and YouTube, as well as I might be able to get it cross-posted to Jacko Racing, which will be really fun as well. That's going to be awesome. NASCAR trucks full of 50-odd drivers. A special Daytona, 75 laps. It's going to be awesome, so be sure to tune in for that as well. My name's been Jack Oliphant. I've been joined by the wonderful Edward May, and we'll be back sooner rather than later.